What's up, guys? I'm Random Frank P, and today is my long-term review of the Keychron Q2 after 2 months of this being my main keyboard over at my setup. So instead of dropping a review when this first launched back in January, I really wanted to use it, put some actual time into it, go through the whole, day in the life process for gaming, photo editing, video editing, and everything in between to see how the Q2 holds up, because I love the form factor so much. The navy blue color pops so nicely, so I figured a 2-month review would be necessary. So this Q2 is a follow-up from their very popular Q1 that launched last summer, which was a GMMK Pro alternative pretty much, with a nice compact 75% layout. So here, cutting it down to just 65%. That means you still have things like arrow keys, plus on the top right we have a volume knob, which is configurable. Stock, it's like, controlling your volume obviously, but you can have it do things like zoom in and out, you can have it change the RGB lighting, all that stuff. So overall, the layout and the footprint, nice and compact, and this particular 65% layout really isn't too common, which is why when I saw it, I really did like it and want to put it to full use and use it for the 2 months as my main keyboard. Now, as you can see, I do have it customized. However, the pricing for this, I think, is very, very fair. You can get it bare bones on their website for just $149, or you can get the bare bones with the knob up top for $159, but fully assembled, it can range from $169 to $179, again if you pick the knob, which comes with keycaps and switches. Plus you can get it in the navy like I have, silver, or black. The frame's aluminum, so it has that metallic sort of shimmer to it, and the plate inside is steel. So like I said, I wanted to go bare bones with the knob included so I could then build it up, which is what I did because I really like the navy blue color. I think it looks really nice, and I added my own keycaps and switches. Keycaps here are our deep sea topographic keycap set. This is from myself and Control T keys. By the way, there's only a few days left. The pre-order ends March 30th, so definitely hop on these while you can. Code RFP at checkout will save you $5 as well, so don't miss out. And the colorway I think is just a really, really nice accent to the navy blue, especially with the teal accents on the keycaps and the topo lines and stuff. Just looks great here. Now in terms of switches, I went with the lubed version of the glorious Link switches that are linear. And as you guys know on the channel, I tend to match the keycaps with the color of the switches, which, has no actual meaning in the end, right? It doesn't matter what the color of the switches are, but in terms of aesthetics, that's what I like to do. And here, in this case, with the teal housing, it's a nice accent, and for me, it helps. It helps my OCD, okay? But they are very, very smooth, and for being factory lubed, they did a pretty good job. Now, popping off the switches will reveal the hot swap PCB, which is 5-pin with a south-facing LED. And south-facing is preferred overall because it'll have less interference again with other keycap sets out there. But on the south side of a south-facing PCB, with the LED on the bottom, if you're using shine-through keycaps, the RGB won't, be as bright. But for me, it doesn't really matter. So for my first week of use back in January, I used it completely stock. And I will say, this still had a pretty hollowish, pingy sound to it. So I took it all apart because I wanted to, add some sort of dampening foam or see what they had going on inside that was still causing it to sound relatively hollow. Interestingly enough, they do have their own layer of sound dampening foam. And then underneath that is this very strange, layer of film. It's literally a giant piece of cutout film, it seems like. But the foam they included is really doing nothing. It's super, super thin. It's literally see-through. So I knew that modding this and adding my own internal sound dampening layer would definitely do wonders for the linear switches here with the all aluminum frame. So I actually cut out a layer from silicone. This is like arts and crafts, like a silicone mat that I picked up for super cheap. I just cut it to the shape of the current foam they had inside, and it really, really helped the sound profile. Now the Q1 is a gasket mounted keyboard, which means it's gonna have a nice softer feel overall and more give when you're typing on it or pressing down. You can see the rubber pads surrounding the PCB. And a trade-off now to adding the silicone definitely does sort of eliminate that more bouncy soft feel, but I'll take this compromise because the sound now is much, much better. Real quick, I'll do a sound test, like I said, of the lubed glorious Link switches, in addition to my own layer of the silicone dampening pad. So really not bad for factory loop switches. And in case you're curious about the stabilizers, it is their own sort of creation, I guess. They're just pretty much screw-in stabilizers. They have a nice like greenish teal sort of color tint to them. And they were factory lubed, although I did add just a little bit more. But really no rattle, no pinging anymore, no more of that hollowness. I am really digging the final result. I'd say the sound is deep and kind of like marbly at the same time. So again, for my use case as a content creator, and I'll be very honest with you guys, I really haven't gamed too much this year so far. Again, my son was born end of December, so I haven't had a lot of free time to fully game like I used to. But when I do, using this now versus my old Apex Pro TKL, which had their OmniPoint switches that were very lightweight, but they were also adjustable. These are like 10 times smoother, because again, they're factory lubed. And I've had no issues with gaming, nothing like that. So for gaming, it's been just fine. But again, one of the bigger benefits now to this smaller footprint is the fact that it's gonna take up less room on your desktop, and also having that functionality of the volume knob is great. Again, stock, it can control volume. You can have it zoom in and out, jog your timeline, change RGB, whatever you want, you can have this volume knob do. It's 3 different functions with turning it up and down, plus you can press it in to actuate it. And it's all set up and configured in QMK or VIA. I always say Kia, but it's not. QMK or VIA software. So Keychron does not have their own software to use this. I just use VIA, and it's very straightforward. It's what a lot of custom keyboards out there use. I will say though, it's not a perfect integration. Like for example, clicking on the lighting tab will cause it to just freeze and do nothing. So if you want to add like, the RGB control and stuff, you have to go down to the actual lighting tab on the bottom for the functions and then sort of set it up and configure it that way. But you can also just control the RGB on the keyboard itself with a function shift and then like QWER, ASDF that controls like saturation, effects, brightness, speed, all that. And like I said before with the south-facing LED, it's gonna be shining through the baby blue teal colored housing of my Lynx switches. So when I have the LED set as white, it's gonna have that bluish sort of tint to it, which I don't mind because again, it fits the keycap set perfectly. But I'll give you guys an idea of how it looked with the RGB and stuff. It is very bright and saturated, nice smooth effects. There's a bunch of different effects on board to pick from. So RGB on here, very nice. But for me, I always keep it a static color, either white here or like a teal, again, just to accent the keycaps. So at the end of the day, I think the overall value here of the Q1, with a little bit of love and TLC, mod it just a little bit if you want to improve your sound profile, it is outstanding for what you're paying, whether it is bare bones or the fully pre-built, like fully pre-built with switches and keycaps for under $200 is insane for a great compact layout here, the volume knob, all that great stuff. And on the back side, there's actually a little switch you can toggle between using this for your Mac or PC. So depending on what your operating system is, it's compatible with both. So for me, no issues, no problems. It's been really great to use this for the last 2 months. I'm gonna bring up one minor con that does annoy the hell out of me. 95% of you are not gonna care, but again, with my just craze over aesthetics and my OCD on that side, I will say, having the volume knob with the little cutout around it, it does bother me. I wish it was flush with it and there wasn't that square cutout, but again, that's because you can get this with an extra switch there instead of the knob, but it just bothers me. So would I recommend the Q2? Yes, hands down. Would I recommend modding the Q2? Yes, as well. Would they make it very easy to do so? As you saw, there's just these 8 screws in the bottom. You take them off and then boom, it's open. Hot swap PCB. Very easy to mod this. And like I said, just with that sound film and very thin layer of foam, which isn't doing anything, a little bit of love will go a long way here to really improve the sound profile, depending on your switches and all that. But they just make it very user-friendly. And I have to say, I love what Keychron's doing in the keyboard space, giving us these, almost custom-esque budget builds for under $200, especially if you are you're a new person in the community and you want to sort of get a feel for these custom keyboards, but you don't want to spend $400 and up. this is a great value if you do want to get it pre-built for under 200. Just really loving what Keychron's doing. From their days, I remember like seeing their wireless keyboards, a bunch of like tech YouTubers on like, you know, the Mac side of things and the Apple side of things were always showing these off. Never really paid much attention until Q1 that I reviewed, and it's just been up and up ever since. So if you want to check it out, I'll put a link for you in the description down below, as well as our deep sea topographic keycap set. Like I said, only available until March 30th. I don't care, shameless plug. I'm proud of it. They look great. If you want to hop on it, in the description down below. But that'll wrap it up for my review of the 2-month Q2 review. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up to show your support. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at randomfrankp. And lastly, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hope you all enjoyed. Have a good day.